Aloha and welcome to Experience 48B Next.js example form. We're going to download and create some enhancements to the example form template. The enhancements is we're going to add this instructor call or selector where we get to choose the instructor that is teaching 314 for you as when you create the student. But first you want to familiarize with the example template. So please go to the home page, read the home page, watch the screencast, then install the template, run, call your repo nextjs-form 314, download it to your laptop, run npm install, then run dev to see if you've got it, see if it's working, then quit it. You want to quit it because then you want to create the DB in Postgres. Copy the sample env, rename it, edit it to use your username and password, and then change the database to be the one we just created. And then we migrate the database by running npx prisma migrate dev. That will create the two tables. I have done all of these steps, and you can see that I have the enrollment data table, the student data table, and the Prisma migrations table. So I have done the migration. And so now I'm ready to start my WAD. So let me start the timer. Okay. So what we need to do is create a branch called add instructor 1. New branch. Create the branch, publish the branch so it gets up to GitHub. And now we want to add a new field to the student data schema called instructor to have 4 values: Connor, Moore, Marita, and Port. So let's go to the Prisma schema. So we want to update the student data model, but we want to have a enum instructor, and it's going to have the 4 values: Connor, Moore, Ita, and Port, representing the 4 instructors of ICS 314 this semester. And then we want to add the instructor, which is an instructor. So it's going to be one of the 4 values. And we want to update our Prisma client by running this npx prisma migrate dev. So let's do the migration. And so, well, I can update Prisma to 5.18. Do that later. So I got the add instructor. Let's check to see if we got the add instructor. So let's take a look at the student data table. And we do have an instructor column, so that's good. So now our client is updated. Now, when you do a migration, you need to stop Next.js from running. So if you had another shell open and you're running npm run dev, you need to kill it and start it again, because migrations don't update the running system. So it won't load that instructor column in the client, the Prisma client. It won't understand that requirement. So you've got to kill your running Next.js applications and restart them so they'll see the new instructor column or the new fields.
2121.
And so now we want to update the validation schemas to include this instructor. So we want to go into source, lib, validation schemas, and we want to get the keys. So we want to import that enum from the client. Now we can export const one more paren. So now we're going to get just the keys in that enum that aren't a number. So when an enum creates, it creates keys that are strings and then the index associated with those keys. So we want to be able to just get the keys that are the strings, not the numbers. And so now we want to add so now we can import the instructor keys elsewhere, like in our form. And so now I want to add the instructor, which is a string. So we're going to be able to pull that out of it. And now we want to add the instructor to the create student schema, which is our validator for the form. And then we also want to do it for the edit. So we want to validate that the value that they have in their instructor is one of the keys. So now, let's see, we get that instructor field. Okay, we did all that. Now we want to update the upsert student function in source lib db actions to include the instructor field. So let's go to db actions. So we want to say instructor as instructor, but I need to import it from the client so it knows that it is that. And that should be all I need to do from that perspective. So now we can start it up. It's ready. Let's go look at it. Okay, so it's running. That's great. But we don't have the third column in this first row. So let's update the create student form. Create student form. So we want to have a third column in this first row. So we want a column here. And we want it to have a form group. And it's going to be similar to this level field because you want to choose what level. So let's copy the form group for the level and put it here. But it's not for level. It's for instructor. Instructor. We want to register it not as in level, instructor. Now, we want the level keys, but now we need to go change our import so we can get the instructor keys. So now I can loop over the instructor keys. We're going to call this values and And then we don't want that to be on that. We want it on. And then not what is your level, but who is your instructor? So now I've got my instructor and I've got the 4 choices. That's looking good. Okay, update the submit function. So the submit function, we need to add the instructor to the data. So we're going to get the data. Then we upsert student on submit. Oh, if I do this. I wonder why I need to do that. But that makes it happier to say it's optional. I'm not 100% sure why it's not optional though. Okay. So that's updated. Let's try and see if that works. My name is foobar at hawaii.edu. My instructor is Moore. I am a sophomore. I have a decent GPA. I enrolled in 9/8/25/20. I'm a computer science major. Submit. Student data saved successfully. Okay. Let's take a look at the database. Foobar has no bio, has no sophomore, GPA, computer science instructor, or more. That looks great. So now that looks good. So we do see the data that I inserted. We can also, if we wanted to, we could create a new terminal. PSQL nextjs form 13, my password. And then I want to say select star from public dot and we get the one row that I inserted correctly. So there's several ways you could query the database. So now that's working good. So let's update the student form to include the instructor column. So we can take this column from the create student form, put it into the first row, and again, supposed to import the instructor keys. But I need to remember that this thing, I want a default value of student.instructor. So I'm going to pull the instructor from the student record to populate the default value of the edit student form. If you don't put the default value, then you don't get anything. You just have the selector. So now let's see if this works. I want to see if I can edit the data. So I've got the name, I've got the instructor, enrollment, physics, chemistry. I want to add a hobby, let's say biking. That looks good. Update. Okay. Let's see if we got anything. New bio. And we have a hobby, biking. Looks like we get successfully updated the database with the edit form. Okay, so now we're almost done. So let's go in and run in a separate shell npm run lint. No errors. Excellent. So now, instructor field implemented in in 15 minutes. Let's look, see it's up on GitHub. Add instructor 1. We've got the changes. Excellent. So now I recommend that you run it again, start it up, and start all over again, and then do it again. So try again until you can get within the correct amount of times. Thank you very much.